Kumusta mga gamers? Gameros here. Welcome to another my Wolcen build guide. And today I'm gonna talk about my Consuming Ember, Bleeding Edge, Battle Mage. And to begin this guide, I'm gonna talk about my skills and skill modifiers. So first is this Consuming Embers, and I'm using this for increased cast speed. This will give me an additional projectile. This will give me an additional fire damage after casting the spell. And this will allow my projectile to pierce enemies. And lastly, this will increase my element damage. And next is this Livor Mortis. And I'm using this 3 modifier that increase my summon's health. This will increase the movement speed. This will increase the damage. And lastly, this modifier will make you more tankier because you will take reduced damage, and that reduced damage will be transmitted to your summon. And next is this Bleeding Edge, and I'm using this for increased area of effect. This will allow your axe to continue to spin after being thrown, and this will allow your axe to follow you, and this will increase the weapon damage. And next is this Bulwark of Dawn that allows you to heal over time. And I'm using this and this one for increased duration, and this reduce the cooldown. And this 3 modifier will keep your spell up all the time, and this will make the spell follow you. This will increase the healing speed. This will damage the nearby enemies, and this will increase the healing. And next is this Blood for Blood, and this will give you an additional rend damage when you're not at full health. And to be honest with you, I'm always at full health because I have strong regeneration and life leech, and the only reason I'm using this spell is because of this 4 skill modifiers. And this will give me additional life leech. This will increase my chance to inflict ailments. This will increase my health regeneration. And this will increase the damage on enemies suffering from damage over time. And since this build inflicts burn and bleed ailments to the enemies, this modifier is pretty much up all the time. And this will increase the area of effect. This will reduce the enemy movement speed, and this will make the spell follow you or your enemy. And lastly, this Ether Jump, which is my movement skill, and I'm using this to reduce the willpower cost, and this to reduce the cooldown. This will give me a buff that increase my attack and cast speed, and this will give me movement speed. And lastly, this will leave a decoy. For the attributes, 40% of my attributes goes to my wisdom, and 60% of my attributes goes to ferocity. For the gears, first I'm gonna talk about the weapon. You can use any one-hand melee weapon, so you will be able to use this Bleeding Edge and Blood for Blood skill, and just look for a weapon with a high total damage. And for the offhand, use Catalyst, so you will be able to use these 4 spell skills. And just look for the least negative transfer time reduction. And I'm gonna put a list of the mods that you need to look for your Catalyst, weapon, rings, belt, and amulet. For the sockets, first for the weapon, I'm using 2 offensive number 2 and 1 offensive number 1. And I'm using Ruby Gem on all of them for additional rend damage. And for the Catalyst, I'm using 2 support number 3, and I'm using Amethyst Gem for additional transfer time reduction. And for the third socket, I'm using defensive number 3, and you can either use Silverstone, Copperstone, or Topaz for additional maximum health. And for the amulet, rings and belt, I'm using support number 3, and I'm also using amethyst gem on all of them. For my defensive gears, I'm using heavy armor type for spalders, gauntlets, pants, and boots, and I'm using bruiser armor type for my chest piece and helmet. And I'm gonna tell you later why it's important that these two are bruiser armor type. And for the sockets, for the helmet, chest piece, and pants, I'm using defensive number 3. And again, you can either use silverstone, copperstone, or topaz for additional maximum health. And again, I'm gonna put a list of the mods that you need to look for your defensive gears. For the skill tree, first I took this attrition strategist for additional chance to inflict ailments. And then after this node, I went to this node here, insidious decay, for +2 ailment stacks inflicted. And after this node, I went to these 3 nodes here. So 100% chance that whenever I inflict ailments to the enemies, it will be multiplied by 2. And after these 3 nodes here, I took this node here, so I can apply 2 types of ailments. And after this node, I took these 2 nodes here for additional max ailment stacks. And after these 2 nodes, I went straight up here to get this salvatory anchor and elevated gain. And these 2 nodes here will give you lots of health regeneration if you equipped bruiser helmet and bruiser chest piece. And just make sure that your bruiser helmet and bruiser chest piece have high health points. After these 2 nodes here, I took this node here, branded burst, which gives me 1 tenet point for every 2.5 seconds, and it can go up to a maximum of 5 tenet points. And each tenet points will give me 15% damage reduction, and you will lose these tenet points whenever you are hit. And I also took this indifference node, which gives me additional 5 damage reduction per tenet points. And after these 2 nodes here, I took this blessed silver node, which gives me anointed ammunition points for every 2 seconds. And it can go up to a maximum of 5 anointed ammunition points, and each of these points will give me 10% projectile damage, and you will use one of this point each time you use a projectile skills. And for each empty anointed ammunition points, it will give you 10% melee damage. And I also took this eagerness node, which gives me 1 anointed ammunition points whenever I deal critical hit. And after these 2 nodes here, I took this node that gives me more chance to deal critical hit. And after this, I took this node here that gives me 100% critical hit damage. And after this, for the rest of your skill points, just get those nodes that gives you more chance to deal critical hit. And I think there's 2 more here, and there's 2 more here. And yeah, I think that's all I can say about this build. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Magkita na lang tayo sa susunod na video.